so the dangle sharp. Them bricks to them stack to the builder.
What's up, boss? Hey, I'm good, King. How about you? That's what's up.
Great, man.
That's what's up, dog. Hey, man, thanks for taking some time to chat with us, man. We'll give people a few minutes to jump on, but man, I'm excited to. This is actually, most of the TEF Talks I've done with DJs, man, from Hitman DJs, also the core DJs and a couple, independent DJs. So, one of the things that for me, it just makes common sense, man. The core of anybody that I've worked with has been a producer and has been my network to connect with DJs and everything else, man. So what I decided to do is also start having some real talks with producers because I think, one of the things us as artists, man, we take for granted is, the army of people that really make all this stuff pop. So, man, I'm excited to be able to chat with you, bro. And you got some people plugging in too, man. So we'll make sure we call them out as we walk through the live, bro.
What's going on, man? Let's talk to Cole.
Yeah. So one time for Cold Hearted. Yeah. So man, while we doing this, man, first off, man. So Brandon, it's a pleasure to meet you, man, through ID Live. I hope we can connect in a meaningful way in the near future, man, and definitely connect on some work as well. But all being said, I'm TEF. I go by TEF XL from an artist standpoint. I've been in the music game for quite a while, putting out singles and dropping other projects and so forth and so on. And for me, music is just obviously the music that producers make is the canvas, man, for me to put words to what I hear the instruments and the sounds are making. So kudos to you as well as all the producers, man, that put out real music for people to enjoy in an abundance. You know what I mean?
That's out too. I was listening to it on the ride.
Thank you, brother. Well, we're not going to make this about me, man. It really is. I want to peel back the layers, man, and start really exposing, those otherwise that stay behind the scenes and pop in and out so quick, man, but make the canvas possible for artists. So, man, won't you tell everybody who are you and what you do, man, in this music game?
My boy Reed, what's going on, Reed? That's my uncle who's younger than me. That's funny. Brandon Phillips-Taylor, producer, engineer, artist development, piano, drums. Just picked up guitar, but an artist, honestly. I would say an artist. Production is my the spearhead of my artistry, if you will.
Yeah. Well, so how long you been into production, bro?
I think I made my first beat when I was like 16, about 10 years ago now. But as far as like in the industry, I'd probably say our first major release was about 6 years ago. But I think I first started really developing artists and putting out projects about 10, 11 years ago. Like it went away from just making beats and it was like, okay, let's develop. And,
Like that. So, when you talk about like you being an artist yourself, man, what is the biggest difference when you lean into it as a producer and you start working with artists? Do you think that makes it easier to connect with artists, or is it harder sometimes because you have an idea where you like to see an artist go and they may go totally different?
Both. I think that definitely starting with the latter, that happens a lot. Make a beat and then I hear a hook for it. I'm like, yo, this is it. And if the song is about this, you come in like this, oh man, that'd be amazing. And you give it to the artist and they just kind of like, this is where I was gonna go with it. And now you kind of like, that's cool, but that's not. That definitely happens. But I think also being the artist gives perspective there, so you kind of understand at the same time that people are gonna have their visions. It's not my job to put my vision on somebody else. It's my job to help really illustrate their vision, help give them the canvas for their vision. And that takes it takes time to build those relationships, but I think it definitely helps to connect with the artist that way. I think it just a lot of times it humbles you though, when you have believe is like the greatest idea in the world, and they're just like, I'm not really feeling that. Like I want to go somewhere else with it. So I mean, that happens all the time. But that's
Got it. Well, so man, okay. So man, you're gonna make me unpack this a little bit. So I guess so. As I listen to you, is there a situation where you got like this archive of tracks? Like, hey, I know only certain artists I'm gonna work with because they will actually do it justice. So I hear producers keep this little treasure trove, and they only unlock it for the right artists. Are you one of those producers too?
Yeah, actually, because once you hear it and you know, like, oh man, this person would sound perfect on this, you know what I mean? And honestly, though, I think that is a great percentage of the job of being a producer. It's not just about making the or even coaching artists, is about working with the right artists in general, but let alone, per song and per track, just knowing like whose vocals will work with this track sonically, whose energy will work with this, whose personality will work with this. And so I'm really big on that. If I'm making like a grimy beat that sounds like, we riding through the hood about the mob, I'm probably not gonna give that to my gospel singing artist, unless we're just trying to do something completely different. So I think that's an important part. I think it's something that a lot of producers, I won't say lack necessarily, but maybe don't focus on as much, is that the artist selection is as important as sound selection, because ultimately that's where they're gonna be, is the primary sound of that track. So everything has to complement each other, and it has to work together to make the story believable, to make that moment and that experience believable. So definitely.
Got it. Well, man, so what's the process you go through to select? I mean, you may, I don't know the ins and outs of it. So when I ask this question, excuse my naivety on it. Producers I work with, man, they're very selective on the artists that they work with. So my assumption is the same with you. And so I'm coming at you with this assumption. So what is the process that you go through to choose to work with certain artists? And how do you tell an artist no?
The last part of that question is going to be tough, but the first part, I'm extremely spiritual. So a lot of times I'm really big on just like things happen how they're supposed to. There's a lot of people who, if I'm inspired by you, and Jennifer, I hear your music, or, I hear you sing or rap and I'm inspired, I'm going to want to work with you. But then maybe I meet you and, you're an asshole, or maybe I meet you and, you're guarded and I'm just not the person who can get through to you. So, I mean, there's elements with it. And I think a lot of times you have to leave some of that up to just God, the universe, and how things to work. So for me, I'm really big on that. If I'm inspired by your work and you're inspired by my work, I say, let's take that to the next level and let's see. And then can we coexist in the same room? Can we, how easy is it for us to work together? And I think when you link with that right artist, you can feel it, it. The time flies. I mean, similar to like dating or something like that. I think active, you think I'm attractive. Okay, that's part of it, but now we work together, and does it make sense for us to work together? So I think that's part of my process there. Telling artists no, man, I've really struggled with that my whole life. In general, I've struggled to tell people no. So I think a lot of times with artists, it comes in handy sometimes to be really busy. And it's just kind of like, hey, if it's meant to work, it'll work. But for me, it's never really, I don't think I've ever had artists that I just would not work with necessarily, unless we've been through something and, it's something personal. But like sonically, there's so much you can do these days that I just might not hear it. So if we get in the room and, here's the vibe, we work, and it's just kind of like, that's not really my steez, then it just didn't work between us. But I mean, there's so much technology and so many things and ways to manipulate sound these days that I kind of like those challenges. I've grown to like those, where when I'm in a session and I'm kind of like, man, this is completely new. And I've had to deal with that a lot, I'm 33 now. So, we've had different generations of music now. And so every time the new generation comes in, it's kind of like, what the fuck is this?
I don't know be you.
But yeah, so, I mean, it's like, so it's this, but then, a couple years later, it's like, oh, this is what everybody's doing now. This is the new sound. So I think I learned that lesson the hard way. I used to have some clients maybe like 5 or 6 years ago who came in maybe around the same time like Lil Yachty and stuff was getting popular. And so that sound was getting popular. And I was just kind of like, nah, this ain't it. I don't think this gonna work. And then sure enough, like that was the thing. And so now I'm working with those artists. I think I'm a lot more humble about it and knowing that like I just might not be hip to it. And there's so many different subgenres now of music, especially in rap and in hip hop, that I mean, you just never know. You might not necessarily connect with somebody sonically, but there's always the opportunity there sonically. There's always somewhere you can take it in to make it work. So I try to always try at least and see where it goes. And if it doesn't work, you know, it just doesn't work and we can try again.
Gotcha.
Down the line.
Peace out to Westside Love. Man. I saw Marco Solo also join, man. Marco is one of my producers, man. So good to see him lean in, Brandon. But man, you just triggered a question for me, man, when it came to you know, like you said, there's generations of music now, especially in hip hop. And so sometimes you're on the cutting edge of where music is going. So and this question I'm formulating as we talking. But what triggered me was, like you said, you hear a certain like of music, and I think the question is more so around trends. So how do you stay focused on not necessarily submitting yourself to what's the trends versus what's good music? How do you balance those in how you produce, especially since you play so many different instruments too, man?
I think trends are a good thing. I don't think trends are necessarily a bad. They push the culture forward, obviously. There does require a balance. I remember Pharrell one time and talked about how trying to catch the trend is kind of like you being at the end of a tunnel, and on the other end of the tunnel is a helicopter, and you got all these people running through the tunnel to get to the helicopter, and usually by the time you get to the end of the tunnel with the helicopter's flown off to another place, and you find yourself always chasing the trend. So I think it's kind of a balance of really being open-minded to the trends that are happening so that you're able to kind of catch things as they come. But then also knowing that, like, I mean, kind of like cooking, everything is just about elements. So if what the trend is right now is, you know, super auto-tune vocals, then okay, maybe we can use super auto-tune vocals, but, you know, put a flanger on them or put a different effect on them so that they don't sound like this. And then it still reminds you of what's trendy, but then it still gives you, because I think that's all the new trends are. It's kind of like, this is what we got, this is where we've been, this is where it's going. And I think if you focus too much on the trend, people can tell, people know when it's not organic, people know when it's like, oh, okay, you're trying to sound like what everybody else is sounding like. But I think if you can find ways to you know, experiment around what everybody else is doing, just so you can stay relevant, because that's, you have to be able to stay relevant, and so much changes. You got to reinvent yourself a million times over again. And so I think you have to stay in tune with the trends, but you have to also realize that they're just that. And by the time you're hearing it, it may already be too late. So, and then I think also too, figuring out the hidden details in the trends. So like, what I like to pay attention to if I go to a club or something, it's less of like sonically what's trending, like how are people dancing now? Because that's kind of really what the trend is. You know, like I remember maybe 2014, 2015, everything was real. Whip, nay, you kind of had to have this bounce to it. Now you kind of real thing, so it's a different dance to it. So I think when I can see the dances that are happening, it's kind of like, all right, that's the most important part. How can I make somebody still do that same dance move? But then I can incorporate these different elements. They might not even know why it connects with them, but studying that, or, you know, just certain parts of it, really breaking it down, trying to figure out what is making this record. Is it the drums? Is it the cadence, the rhythm, how it makes a person dance? Is it the subject matter? Is it, you know what I mean, all those different things, and then being able to take that, analyze it, and put your own cocktail together, put it out there, try it, see how that works. Okay, that didn't go over too well. Maybe a little less lemon juice this time. You know, maybe a little less 808 this time, a little less auto-tune. It really just, I mean, trying it. You know what I mean? It's art. There's no wrong way of doing it, you know, obviously. But I think you just got to try it, and you end up creating stuff and being like, oh wow, we didn't see this coming. But I think you have to
Yeah,
try
that's
it out.
dope. That's dope. To hear you talk, because I find myself doing that too, just observing. If I'm in a club scene or something like that, I'm really just observing what the swing is in the vibe. And as I'm and it's really like you said, and I love the way you articulated, man. It's not really around. I'm not listening to the music per se, but I'm paying attention to the energy in the room. And the energy in the room, I walk away with
Mm-hmm.
that energy. And as a creator, I'm thinking about, okay, how do I articulate a message that has that same swing and energy on a canvas with a producer that
Yeah.
can recreate that environment for me? You know what I mean? And that's dope.
Right.
That's dope. Yeah.
Exactly. Play, what's up, bro?
Yeah. So man, so tell me about some of the projects you're working on now, man. Hey, so I checked out. Is it Dante Hathaway? Deontay Hathaway?
Scott,
Yeah.
Dante Hathaway. I got to tell him that. It's funny.
De-
He get a whole bunch of them.
Deontay Hitchcock. Deontay
That's my
Hitchcock,
brother.
man. Dude is dope. And man, so what's it like, man? I saw he's got
Oh
quite
yeah.
a few features, man. Like Miguel's on a feature, J.I.D's featuring on that. So what's it like working with some of these other artists? I got some laughs as well.
Nah, man, that's half the dream come true, honestly. It's dope. I've always been a big fan of her. It was dope when we got her on the record.
Yeah.
J.I.D, big fan of his, and we were fortunate enough to tour with him in
Okay.
2019. Um, Miguel, super dope. Miguel actually was signed by the same person who's Beyonce, Mark Pitts. So, but I mean, it's been a dream come true. I think a lot of these instances, say for like her, I wasn't able to be in the studio with her. That would have been dope. But I mean, even just when you get that email back and it's like rough take one, her, and then you play it and you're hearing this person you've been a fan of and they're singing over the tracks, like,
Yo.
man, that's mind blowing. Definitely a dream come true in that regard. And so that's like that's easily one of the my favorite parts.
Yeah. Yeah, man. You know what? So, because I mean, I mean, just like you said, you've been doing it since you were 16, man. So you think about it, those moments are I mean, and it's, 10, 15 years later, but those moments, they erase the time period it took to get to those moments, and so, man, that's got to be monumental just to, hear these big artists, man, and, they blazing some music that you put in front of them and, really, taking
Right.
it to the next level. So that's awesome, man. And congratulations to you on that, bro. Yeah, yeah,
Thank you so
yeah.
much. Thank
So, man, when you start looking, outward, who are some artists, man, in your sphere that you love to either produce a single with or do a full project with? Yeah.
you. That I would love to.
Mm.
Jasmine Sullivan. Um, I wouldn't even have to do a song or anything with him, but it would be really dope to work or just even just sit in the room and talk to Stevie. I that would, you give me Stevie and Jasmine Sullivan, I can retire, honestly. Let me get a song and Stevie, he
Yeah.
can play the harmonica, he can talk whatever he want to do, but like Stevie, Jasmine, on the hip hop side, I think naturally, you always want to work with somebody like Drake, who is kind of like just an automatic. Kendrick,
Ooh.
super dope. Andre
Yeah.
3000.
Yeah.
Andre. Yeah. I put Andre over there with Jasmine and Stevie. Like, if I was able to get that one off, then that'd be dope. For most of my life, I'd say Kanye. I probably still would love to do that, but just
Yeah.
it's a lot
Yeah.
going on with
Yeah.
bro right now. So
Man, boy, yeah, Andre 3000, no boundaries. No boundaries on that. So that would be sick.
yeah, nah, Andre definitely. Let me think.
Okay.
Cleo Soul. Um, I'm not sure if she signed to anybody yet or not, but Cleo Soul
Cleo
is
Soul.
super, super dope. Um,
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
Cleo Soul, check her out if you haven't. Alex, um, those are the ones I can probably think of off the top of my head. Like larger to, you know, more newer acts.
So,
Yeah.
excuse me, man. When you talk about singles and projects, man, and I've been asking this to DJs as well, and it's mixed, so everybody has their opinion on it. What do you think is probably the best route for music nowadays? Singles or doing full projects and albums? What's your take on that?
Man, to be honest with you, my initial inclination is to say singles, because of attention span and because of just how much music is out every single day. That coupled with the fact that, you know, so many people now are listening to playlists as opposed to albums, and so they're kind of just, you know, creating their playlist of vibes, and this the playlist that they drive to, it's the playlist that they sleep to, or, you know, fuck to. This is the playlist that they clean to. This is so. I mean, I would say singles. However, at the same time, I know for me, I still love if I hear a dope single by somebody and now I look and they, you know, it's a 7-track EP. If I play that 7-track EP and you get me 2 more times to be like, oh man, look, I'm a fan. I don't know that I would necessarily be a fan off of a single. I would be a fan of that song. So I don't know. I think I don't really think there's a surefire way, but naturally I'm gonna say singles just because of like metrics. But I personally still like to receive things from an album perspective. I think it just, you know, allows me to get to know more sides of that artist, to know what to expect. Because with a single, you know, this single might not be you at all. This might have been the song that you did to, you know, get popular on TikTok. And now I'm coming to your, you know, KRS-One. And it's like, that's cool, but all right, you know. So I think for me, I like projects still, but we're just in a tough time for that because of how much comes out and attention span and just everything being so accessible now. A lot of people aren't going to sit down through a whole project, so it's kind of dangerous, all your resources and good music on a project. But I think maybe a combination, maybe releasing, let's say for 2 months you release 6 singles, and then the day you release the 7th one, you just drop them all as an EP. You know what I mean? Something like that. But
so a mix of the strategy. So I'm right there with you, man, because I feel like it's sort of like you talked about earlier, the helicopter down at the end of the tunnel when it comes to the strategy of releasing music. You know, you can be creating singles, trying to get closer to catch that wave and ride that helicopter and drop an album. But every time you drop a single, that helicopter is moved to a new tunnel or picking up something else. And so if you really want to create a super fan base and create and if you have, you know, a message or something to drop, it seems like it's a combination of both. I'm like you though. I tend to jump to playlists because I'm looking for certain vibes, and I like to get a compilation of different artists that are communicating messages that I can resonate with. You know, so it depends on the artist. But then if I hear an artist, the next thing I'm doing is I'm double clicking. I'm trying to see, hey, so what's their projects and what they got. And if I just see a compilation of singles, then it's hard for me really to understand where this artist is and what they're coming from. So that's why I mean, and I get back and forth, even with my own producers, man. I think it's a both. You know, you need the singles, you know, because you always want to continue to drop music, but at the same time, if people never know where you are and where you're coming from and what message you got, then you're kind of lost in this trends of things. So, but you know, hey, whatever works for people, right?
That's right. I mean, new stuff is working every day. Every day, a new thing is working. So you just got.
So, man, so as we talk about this, and I ask this question to everybody, man, what is one thing that you think artists or producers or anybody in the music industry, what is one thing that they should stop doing?
Stop doing overthinking. I think kind of even a couple back to what we were just talking about. I don't think you really have the time to overthink anymore. And I think that there's a thin line maybe between overthinking and, you know, just being meticulous and paying attention to detail. I think that can still be done without overthinking it. And I know a lot of times producers and artists, whether that's a single song, it happens more on projects though. I've learned, but you can overthink something and, you know, try to get something perfect. And I think it's actually better to get it out and get to the next one. You know what I mean? Because each one you're gonna learn from yourself and from the market with every release, with everything that you do. So when you're holding that stuff, it's kind of like you end up trying to catch up. And then also I think that cloud gets bigger because now it's like, well, it's got to be perfect because, you know, I've been gone for a year now. And this is my big return, as opposed to just, and, you know, being in their face. And even if every time you drop something, somebody's like, oh, that's trash. And then that one time they're like, yo, this is incredible. Then that's all it takes, you know, versus you trying to wait till it's incredible. Because honestly, I don't think it's really hard to get to where you want to be creatively. Hopefully, you know, hopefully there's always like another level you're trying to get to as you're more. So even as you're like, oh, this is dope. I don't think there's a single song I've ever put out that once it was out, I wasn't like, damn, I should have did that, or I should have, fuck, why not think of that? And I mean, that's just part of it, you know. And that early on, I used to be like, man, we should have waited. We could have, and for what? There's always going to be another little thing that could have been done. And so I think you take that with you as a lesson and you go to the next track, the next project. So I think maybe stop overthinking it and stop being afraid to use the resources in front of you. I know, like, we have a TikTok arguments. I'm even talking to myself with this one because I don't even use TikTok like that. But like, it's showing us how forceful it is, you know, for a lot of people. And so I think it's kind of back to the trends again. You have to still be keenly aware of what's trending right now and maybe add your own twist to it. But all of that, I think, just falls into overthinking. Most people who I know that don't want to do TikTok stuff like that is because they're overthinking. It's not because they're like, oh, I hate TikTok or I have something against TikTok. It's because it's like, oh man, I want my TikTok to be perfect. Or I want this to, and it's like, nah, just put it out there. Let people say whatever they're going to say. But now the clip is empty. You can go back and you can reload. So I think they just stop overthinking. Let it be a feeling, you know, stuff out.
No, that's real talk, man. So stop overthinking. Excuse me. So man, I sent you a pre-copy of Code Switch, the prequel, man. What's your thoughts, boss? What stood out to you on that?
No, loving. I got like maybe like 4 or 5 to get through, but it was a like 3-4 track run that started with
no pressure.
No, I won't say no pressure. Yeah, pressure from that one, and I think right after that might have been like Ride or something like that, and it kind of had this dark, real kind of beat, and then Serenity was super dope. Like, so I think those were my 3 favorites. Was No Pressure, Ride,
Serenity.
and Serenity.
Yeah. Okay. Well, man, that's great feedback, bro. Honestly, man, that hasn't been unpacked for anybody, but I was like, you know what, man, I can't miss the opportunity to connect with Brandon on this, man, because obviously, Code Switch is a trilogy, and what we have is we have each one of the albums, and we also have EPs that are dropping. So in between that, but man, I'd love to connect with you on production as we continue to move forward with work, for sure. So I'm definitely going to follow up with you. You know, so on the flip, so thank you, bro, for one, taking time to check it out, and two, giving feedback. And, you know, we take that to heart, man. I definitely take it to heart. So thank you, Brandon. The flip side of the stop, man, what should we start doing? You know, when we're talking about, you know, the core is music, but I'd say you can broaden it however you choose. But what do you think we should start doing as creators? I mean, not say just artists, but creators in general.
Start one of the first things, probably gonna be a few things. I'm just letting them come to me as they come, but I know a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on pre-release marketing, and you know, it's dope. Let them know it's coming. I think you should do that, but I think especially for independent artists and artists who don't have, you know, label budgets behind them to go full force marketing, I think post-release marketing is probably a lot more important. And I think a lot of times I'll see a lot of artists, you know, build up, hey, my project's coming in 27 days, 26 days, 25 days. And after the project drops, you see them post about it like one more time. And, you know, the thing is with the pre-release thing, you know, it's great that your project's coming in 25 days, but I can't listen to it now, so that doesn't really help me. Other than me just kind of knowing that. But once it's out, that's now the time to be like, hey, go check my shit out because it's out now. You can just go click it. And then I think, you know, because for me, I realize how much I scroll past shit all the time. And even if I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sure that's dope. Maybe I'm just not in the mood to hear it. Maybe I'm not in the environment to hear it. And so it might take the third or fourth time I see you post it, or the third or, you know, interaction with your content that I've seen to be like, you know what, let me click this and see what this is about. So I think post-release marketing is something that people should take a lot more advantage of from the marketing side of it. Creatively, I think artists have to really focus on, I think more important than finding your sound is finding your audience. Because I think, you know, with time, your sound will change more than likely. Your subject change, you know, but the people that you connect with, your audience, what they will be following is your journey. And so I think that, you know, when you can find your audience, and there's an audience for everybody, I'm certain of that. Like, that's just almost scientific. Like, there's an audience. Right. You connect with somebody out there's thinking how you move, or did move how you move, or they want to move how you move. So there's always an audience out there. And I think that when we try to chase sounds, you lose that. I think somebody who's been really dope with that is like Tyler, the Creator, is probably best at just kind of being like, all right, these people aren't my people. And that's great. However, I'm still, Russ is another example. Like, I can't really name you 3 Russ songs, but he's out arenas. You know what I mean? So somebody listening to this man, and I think when you focus in on that, it kind of frees you to then be as authentic as you want to be, because now you don't feel like, okay, well, I still gotta be a little bit more street than I really am because I'm trying to get Lil Baby's audience, you know. And it's just like, nah, just get your audience. And maybe you're a person who always wanted to be street but never was. There's a whole crowd of people just like that, I promise. You know what I mean? Or maybe like whatever the specific struggle is, or wherever you at, or whatever your story is, like really putting that out there, allowing your audience to connect with you and you know, be engaging with that, and then creating a world, you know, for those people. And so that world consists of then the sounds, it consists of the videos and the visuals, your social media presence, whether that's mysterious or whether that's extremely engaging. Like, you, there's no right or wrong in that regard, but figure out your audience, you can then kind of figure out your world and the world you want to put these people into. And, you know, and it makes it easier for people to want to be a part of that. So that's why Tyler has such diehard fans, and why Russ has diehard fans, and even down to, like, you know, Lil Babies and people like more obvious artists. But, you know, the reason why Gucci Mane, when Gucci Mane first came out, I was like, bro, what's this about? Like, he's not.
Yeah, straight
you know
up.
I mean? Just when he first, I'm not from the same environment he's from, because there's so many other folk I'm around. They're like, yo, he's talking that real shit. And so he found his audience. And then from that, created a world around that. And eventually, like, other people kind of be like, hey, I want to see what his world is talking about over here. And, you know, maybe when I go work out, I can go to this world. Or when I want to cry, I can go to this world. And just really finding your people, not chasing a sound, not even chasing an audience, but being authentic enough and patient enough, observing enough, engaging enough to allow yourself to find your audience and allow your audience to find you. And I think that once you find your audience, I think everything else really kind of just happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, you know, they're with you at that point. They want to go with you. And Kanye is another great example of that. When we talk about early Kanye, you know, he came out, he was pink polos, and I'm rapping about, you know, regular life stuff, not all the other stuff that everybody can't necessarily relate to. And so, you know, we followed him, you know, we still follow him to this day, you know what I mean? And whether we agree with him or not anymore, like, he's relevant because he created this world. you know, anybody wanted to be in that world, especially if they're related to it. So I think that's really important, is just finding your
Brandon, man, that's
audience.
dope. You remind me of a conversation I had with Sway on Sway in the Morning, and and he said it the
Mm-hmm.
same way, you know. Whereas, man, find your core audience and you super feed them and forget the rest. You know what I mean?
Boom.
And just continue and be consistent in feeding the audience that resonates best with your message, and just, you know, super feed them. And then when you super feed, then you create super fans, and then other people become curious, and then that's how your tribe begins to grow and grow and grow. And then forget the rest, man, because as a creator, you're always, you know, generating net new, right? And like you said, it's a continuous journey. So, man, I so appreciate that message that you're dropping, you know, for all of us to take heed to. Man, so hey, bro, I definitely, I'm not gonna keep you all night, man. But in closing, man, what is it that you want to, you know what I'm saying? You love to tell people, you know, and drop some jewels or words of wisdom for producers, artists, or creators in general. Oh,
Fail fast. Fail fast. You know, get it out the way. That's something that I've had to reiterate to myself. I still have to reiterate to myself. And I got it from Phil Knight in his book Shoe Game, so the creator of Nike. And he was just basically saying, like, that mantra for him helped change his life, because I think so many times we're trying to avoid failure and not realizing that, like, success is actually, I think, a house that's built on a lot of failures, you know. And so when you avoid that failure, I mean, we're just sitting here, you know, and you're trying to, back to overthinking, you're trying to make something perfect. And so I think whether it's about putting out that song or approaching that artist or that producer, whether it's about putting that content out, whatever it is, like,
yeah,
don't be afraid to suck. You know what I mean? And now social media's kind of made it hard because you know, we see the highlight of everybody's life, and so it just looks like it's all good and it's all polished and edited and stuff, but it's like, no, like, don't be afraid to suck. And then on top of that, once you suck in public, I promise you have no choice but to get mentally stronger from that. Or, you know what I mean? But either way, you get to a destination. You either be like, fuck it, it's not for me, and you quit, or you get used to that. And then it's just kind of like, okay, so I mean, now I can go into a studio with somebody and I can play a beat, and they just be like, and I'm cool with that. I've been through that 100,000 million times. You know what I mean? So I'm not afraid of that anymore. But there were periods of time
yeah,
where that would have mortified me. Whereas somebody told me, like, oh no, this ain't it. I mean, I would have, it would have broken my world. So I think you have to fail fast and just not be afraid to fail. And I think everything else comes from that. I mean, whether you want to go spiritual and biblical with that, you know what I mean? Like, it's impossible to please God without faith, or whether you just want to math, and it's just like, you know,
that's
statistics.
right.
The more shots you put up, the more opportunity you have to make shots. So I mean, however you want to look at it, you can't be afraid to fail. You can't be afraid to take the shot, put the shot up, and you're gonna miss some shots, and just know that you're gonna miss shots. And that's not any type of indication of how good or not good you are. It's much more of an indication of how much faith you had to try to begin with. And that's gonna take you much further than any talent
Man, you
could.
know, so that's dope, bro. Yeah, I love it. You know, it falls into the lines of, you know, the principles of agility. You know, and some people, you know, they get stuck in the world of perfection, but it really is, like you said, you know, the more darts you can throw at the wall, one of them damn darts gonna hit a bullseye, bro. You know, and so then you figure out how you can repeat that. You know, so I love it. I love it, bro. Well, listen, man. So thank you, Brandon, for taking time to chat it up, bro, on our TEF Talks. For everyone that was able to join, you know, my name is TEF. I'm dropping my single Bow on this Friday. Please check us out. We got a video dropping as well. Man, Brandon, I'm definitely gonna be hitting you up, man, so we can talk about some of this other body of work, bro. All right, man.
Do
Hey,
it, bro.
man, y'all
Let's
take
do it.
care.
Thank you for having me, man.
Deuces.